wait a second, is it actually going to be Sylas in the jungle, Rel flex to support, playing with Ashe, and you get Varus mid against Jace? Holy crap, they just completely bamboozled this draft. This means that now you have Varus versus Jace, totally fine matchup. Sylas in the jungle, not going to be punished by Maokai. You still get the benefits of going Sylas versus Maokai. It also now means that you have AP in the jungle with 2 AD mid lane and top lane, and you get an explosive bot lane of Ashe and Rel, which has a ton of kill potential at level 1 and 2. So, holy moly, T1 just flipped this draft on its head. All right, here we go. Game 2 draft. We've already got one in the books for T1. They looked superb. They absolutely crushed it. One big mistake from LNG going to that Herald versus a Senna that is normally not level 6, but thanks to Nilo was able to swing that fight with her ultimate. So we'll see whether or not we get any changes for this game. We open up. LNG is on the blue side again. They ban Rumble, Jarvan, Azir. Makes a ton of sense. We get Xayah, Nico, and Orianna. Xayah being a ban to separate the Xayah Rakan blue side hack. First pick, Maokai. I don't think Maokai is very strong. I know it gets picked a lot, and I know exactly the type of synergies that they're looking for, especially AD mids like Jace, but it has just only been average. It's been kind of exploitable. Rel Aatrox means that we've got super high priority on the top lane. They want to get Aatrox no matter what. Also, Rel is a flex pick. We get Jace and Gwen, meaning that they're very happy with the Gwen Aatrox matchup. That was the thing that went the closest to good for LNG last game. They also had the Azir doing fine against Orianna, except for that ill-fated fight in the Herald pit. So they end up going with Gwen and Jace. Technically, you can swap those, although Gwen is just not really designed for mid lane. She's mostly going to be there to go after Aatrox. That means that we get Sylas. Now, Sylas is a very interesting spot from Red 3 right here. Meant to be able to survive against Jace, can deny him the to the skies with E2. You can dodge to the side also with your E as well. And when you do go melee, you can go for that Kingmaker and try to heal back up. So an interesting choice. Also allows you to get the Maokai ultimate, which is really the bigger portion to this. It's not so much about the Jace. You can survive the Jace. He's in melee form a lot, which means that you can get that big healing stack off. But it's largely about stealing that Maokai ultimate and putting some AP ratios to it. This is where the big surprise comes. We get Varus R4, who can still be flex picked. He can be played in the bottom, or he can play mid. You can move Sylas over to jungle, and you can put Rel into support. So the fact that you're actually flexing this, where you could have jungle Rel, or you could have support Rel still, you could have Sylas mid or Sylas jungle. There's a lot of actual combinations here. It challenges LNG. Can you figure out the right response, and can we open up the correct answer in after that? We have Gala picking up Aphelios, and we get Rakan for the bot lane, and they end up picking Ashe. So as this happened, my thought was, holy crap, they just completely flipped the draft. They're going to put Varus mid against Jace. They're going to stick Sylas in the jungle. Suddenly you're going to have Sylas with 2 AD mid laners, meaning that you're going to have dominant lane phases there, and Sylas who cannot be punished by Maokai. You can move Ashe to carry and Rel over to support and completely turn this draft on its head. Or you can just keep it the way that you had it planned, and you play Ashe support, and you play Varus bottom, Rel jungle with Sylas, and you go with Aatrox. So which one is going to be? This can actually have huge detrimental impact to LNG's rune pages, because if they guess wrong, they can have a big, big problem on their hands. All right, we're on to the Rift, and the answer is Sylas mid, Rel jungle, Ashe support. So was LNG able to get it right? They probably had a chance, because you have to spend those 40 seconds after the lock-ins to show the other enemy team what you've got, and they probably don't make any mistakes, but still the possibilities were there. And it also means that we might have a lot of really good rotations available for T1. They end up going with an invade with Sylas. Sylas is the best invader in the entire game. Not the highest threat champion, but he's a guy that can jump over unpredictable walls and gap close from one of the longest distances. You can use Ashe as well with her W to slow people up and get the type of fight that you're looking for. Now, all of this action leads to generally deep wards, but T1 is actually saying, no, we're not done hoodwinking you. We're actually going to step back. We're going to go back to our lane. We're going to try to cut you off actually as you enter lane. It looks like Ashe and Varus are seeing Aphelios go by, so they may be able to engage on Rakan. No, they opt to just open up the normal door, go walk through door number 1, and go to bot lane as normal. And both these wards get dropped in the exact same place here in the mid lane, or by the Raptors, I should say. You see these both. They might have expected wards to be lingering here, so you might see Maokai try to do some sort of path that is meant to obfuscate his intentions. So we end up seeing another Wolf start into Raptors. This necessarily needs to go to Krugs next to hit level 3. We'll see whether or not there's anything that can be done about that. The vision is there. They absolutely know that this is going on. Here we go. Here's that hugely dominant level 1 from Ashe. And then this is only going to get worse. At level 2, you just have all-in threat because the Q on Ashe is the single highest damage ability in the game early on. So we see them zoning them off. They're playing for bot diff again. Level 2 advantage means that they've got this threat to go forward. Now you see Maokai went from Raptors to Krugs. This is what he has to do for 3. Rel realizes this, puts the ward down and jumps over here, gets over to the blue buff. So she's going to have these 3 camps plus 4, 5, and the scuttle will be 6. She'll pass through mid to get to level 4. She will need to share a little bit of experience. Now look at this. Beautifully done. Holding the line right there, keeping the minions intact for this third wave means that they get it all the way to the edge before harassing. Those minions are going to be exceptionally difficult to last hit, and not just that, but you're dealing with Ashe W, you're dealing with Varus E as poke. They're making it as difficult as possible for you. Now Maokai could come over for an answer, but necessarily this wave is going to be pushing back, which means I think that T1's going to be very comfortable to step back for themselves. Ashe can even go for a roam timer or pop the pop blossom, see whether or not Maokai has gone for any amount of exploit here. They realize that they haven't, which means that Rel path through mid. Ashe is going to come here as well to cover the play for a little bit. Rel will stay long enough to soak up 1 minion. I don't know that they actually did. They didn't, so they didn't get level 4. That's actually a pretty big deal. You really want to, when you pass through mid like that, you want to get that minion. I expect them to share one right here. We're keeping eyes on this, whether or not this jumps to level 4. It looks like they got none of those shares. So she's still level 3. It means that your fighting prowess is lower, but it does mean that you get to go take the bottom side scuttle for yourself. Now Maokai is sitting here wondering what the timing for this respawn is, thinks that they know. It should be up at 4:05 if they started Raptors, which is normally pretty common. You see 1, 2, 3. That's a very common path for Rel, but Rel, because she went red to the Krugs and then to Raptors, means that the spawn is 30 seconds later than Tarzan expected. So look at the amount of movement Maokai has had to make to get the minimal amount of camps, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Recall. Nothing, 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 nothing. They are still level 3, 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. This is a complete jungle path diff, largely coming from the expected value of what comes from an invade. So this is a beautiful, a masterclass even from T1 in the early game. Now let's see, can they actually survive this? It's a level 3 Silas. Is Faker going to try to flash over that wall? He tries to hide it for a second, tries to draw aggro, threatens that he can E2 on top of them. He's going to go for the W for the outplay. It's not quite enough. It is so close to get him gone. Faker will come back to this in 10 seconds. Rel will hold on to the experience to make sure that there's not that much lost. But the fact that Owner is hovering around mid right now means that we actually have to give up that Raptor camp, and we get a lot of momentum back for Tarzan. He clears the camp and finally hits level 4. So a super, super interesting start to this game. Fascinating to see all the combinations and all the, just the permutations of different jungle paths and what it means for all the players. I really appreciate Tarzan's ability to find an angle to make an impact, even after having wasted so much time. So he still finds a way to get first blood for his team, but you can see that even with first blood, they are just losing. Go using the E in response to the Maokai W, buying himself as much space as possible. End up for the combo. Ends up not getting the second half of the slow there, which is too bad. Would have been enough actually to kill him with one more turret shot. So Owner is up a full level almost in the jungle. We have a half level lead from the Jace based on that pressure there. Silas is pushing this in. He gets 6 for himself. Top laners haven't missed a beat there. Interesting that Aatrox had to go for a really fast back here. We haven't really been looking at top lane because of all of the action that was happening in the jungle. This is the big spike that Gwen goes for. She's a different champion when she hits this. She's a different champion when she hits Riftmaker. And she's a different champion when she hits the empowered boots. And really, she's just looking for all of those points. Every time you hit a new tier as Gwen, reach another level of towards your threshold, being one of the dominant end game carries in the entire game. Another big benefactor of this play, Maokai spending so much time, right? We talked about him dancing around the top half of the map, trying to find Raptor respawns, eventually going back to the Raptors. It means that this bot lane has been burying them. Varus and Ashe have just been under their turret, harassing them every stage that they could. We see HP leads, we see plate leads. They've got 1.5 plates for themselves on top of a 10 CS advantage. This 15, 16 is only temporary. This wave is going to be coming in. Although it might be a little bit more than 10 by the time it's all said and done, because look at all the harass, right? Are you really willing to try to stick it out? Enemy team hits level 6 first. Varus had some amount of alone time because of Ashe visiting the river, right? You remember her going over, hitting the Scryer's Bloom, coming over here, checking on mid, helping with the dragon. All of those moments were moments where the carry got to level 6, and so they had that extra threat. They hit 6, they go for the all-in. With really... you know, I can't even call it an all-in. It's just a spell rotation. It's just, hey, I've got ultimate. You're almost dead. One more spell hits, you actually are dead right there. We have a huge bot lane gap right now. This is going to continue going up because this matchup is so oppressive. Double ranged into Rakan. Basically have to play for an all-in with Maokai Rakan combination. Silas is going to do his best to trade his HP and his resources to keep the Jace middle, right? Constantly push this wave, try to make it as hard for Jace to leave as possible. Realistically, this is not enough of an advantage. Now, in part, a lot of this came because Rel completely gapped Tarzan, completely gapped the Maokai on the path, right? Owner's path this game is just such like 5-head thinking, you know, call it like 1,000 head. I don't know. It's that much far ahead of the meta to show them like, hey, you're going to go wolf starts. Well, it actually turns out that your path is completely ruined by my early game, and it's showing, right? You're seeing leads being expressed all over the place. The one place that it hasn't affected, the fact that Maokai was near the Raptors' top lane, we see them come over. Rel's got first push to come on over. They are constantly taking this in and out of range. They are trying to get it to leash. If they can get this thing to leash, it'll heal up. But Gala actually peels it to the side. Normally, you might see someone like a Varus continuing to push this lane to get their extra spike, but they're actually here to completely threaten the fight, saying, no, we can go 5v5. We're bigger than you, right? We're up tremendous amount, like big spikes here compared to just this. Combat stats, it's not even close. We also have Everfrost completed from Silas. So T1 is definitely the one who wants to get this thing done. They're battling for it. They're trying to stay right on the wall. This sapling actually wasn't thrown right on the edge, which means it doesn't threaten the wall. If you want to threaten the wall, you need to put this thing right on the corner. See where that ward is? It's not particularly important for red team to get a ward right there, but if blue team wards there, then you can actually get around that bend without being seen. All right, this range only goes... screen keeps on moving, but you get my picture. It only goes to right about there, so it leaves room to get around. You need to put that ward right in the corner if you want it to see. Similarly, you can use your warding trick to like hold your trinket button over any bush, and the moment it turns green is the first pixel where you can put it into that bush, okay? So you can do that to see where the edge of the bush is and then cast your sapling as Maokai. Now, you don't want to have to do that over and over. That's something that you want to memorize. If you're going to be a Maokai player, you want to know exactly that you want to put that thing on the edge. All right, so anyways, they come out of it. T1 is the first one to commit to it. They end up sticking to the Herald. Now it's going to come down to rotations down in the bot lane. They have to deal with the fact that Gala had red-white guns on the turret while they were gone. So 2 plates going into his pocket. Good answer by LNG to kind of bluff at it, stay there long enough to bring T1 over, and then rotate back to the situation that you want normally, which is Aphelios alone with a turret for 2 plates. Anytime you're playing Aphelios, you're playing for that endgame scaling, especially now that we have Gwen as well. We've got Gwen Aphelios, so very much they're playing for the end game. They want to play front to back, they want to outscale you, and they want to battle with Aphelios. We've said it before, we don't think that Aphelios is actually on top of the meta. I think teams who were better were good at punishing teams that were worse, reaching and trying to get onto Aphelios, and Aphelios certainly has that win condition of I can just keep playing back, I can keep playing back. My ultimate is the biggest swing that AD carries can have in team fights, maybe short of like this one. Actually, these these ones that we have in bot lane are pretty support oriented spells as well. So, you know, this is the type of bot lane that can get ahead playing supportive, hyper push. You challenge the Aphelios and you say, yeah, we actually have plenty to do here. Tarzan doing a beautiful job of blocking skill shots. Rel doing a wonderful job of grabbing turret aggro, using the aftershock to grab as much aggro as possible and hold it for as long as possible, allowing Faker to go get that kill. Now they've got a 1k gold lead. All right, they've got significant pressure back on the map. Rift Herald was used there. Rakan is trying to get something done for themselves. Giga actually teleporting to the bot lane means that they are going to kill Guma Yusi, but what are you losing? Because now your teleport's gone. Jace's teleport is gone. Maokai cannot answer Aatrox. So Aatrox is going to get at least these 2 plates. Plus he's going to probably go for a proxy on the next wave, knowing that no one should be nearby. Now, the fact that Maokai goes back sort of covers for that. You can have Maokai come into this area. Jace comes in, so instead Aatrox just says, all right, thanks for the extra gold. You got some gold in bot lane. I'm just going to take this and pop off and use my big spike. Well, it looked like Rel tried to reposition her Q there to try to get it over the 2 of them. Difficult task to get, but you see, perfectly done to grab that much aggro. Grabs the most amount of turret shots that she could. Gets on out. Now, 13 minutes into the game, Rift Herald has been used. T1 has, been notorious for this. They're one of the pioneers for this strategy. Get your AD carry, get your bot lane to middle, right? Allow them to play with this umbrella where they can threaten in every direction. Also, the fact that this is Ashe Varus means that these 2 buttons can impact team fights much more than most of your bot lane duos. You don't necessarily have the quickness from Rakan. You don't have your big Nautilus ultimate, your big engage source, but Ashe is there. Like, it's similar. It's fairly similar. You're not going to get that big AoE knockup, but you should be able to get that one isolated target. Varus actually got a good Q poke off there, but didn't opt to go for the plate. We'll see whether or not he lost it. Because Aphelios, if he was being really prudent, no, it's still at 1.1 right here. It says 2, but basically that is 5% of a plate is left. So Varus and Ashe will be looking to get that for themselves. Hold on, there's a big play. Dash by Rakan dodges it. 14 minutes, that plate is gone. Nothing left to get for it. They had to give up the push to let Ashe back into the base. Ashe is almost definitely going to go Umbroglaive. From there, there's some options. Support Ashe can go into things like Black Cleaver. See whether or not we go for any of those. You see that she's got the zombie ward to go with the Umbroglaive, so that will definitely be coming out. A very inexpensive build you can go for. We have seen things like Even Shroud. Probably not likely, but yeah, we're not going to see like Trinity Force, right? That's not going to come out. It'll be interesting to see what her option is, whether or not she goes for something truly supportive, or whether or not she even buys a mythic, right? Because the mythic effect isn't really that good until you get 3rd items. And we can count the number of 3rd items we've seen them on supports this entire tournament on one hand. So it's just not something that happens. They give up all the resources, they give the kills, they give the plates, they stand to the side, they let their carries get everything. That is what the meta is about, right? You just feed this guy. Play second fiddle and you're okay with it. Budget items. Could be something like an Imperial Mandate comes out as well. Something that procs off of slowing them. The AP ratio works on the R, but no other part of the kit. You're basically just trying to slow them long range with the W. Tend to not like that build in general. I like Black Cleaver more. It supports more of what the team's trying to do. It also means that you don't necessarily have to have Aatrox in the fight at the beginning to make that profit. Now, talking about team compositions, right? Now that we get into what the big fights are going to look like, this guy's trying to steal Maokai's ultimate, and you're going to try to lead off with that. Most times we're going to have long distance engage here. We've got flank engage here, and then we've got flank over the top all in. This is going to be front to back, all right? So you've got self-peel and engage front to back. This way, Rel's going to try to slam dunk it to try to create a big front to back. We've got the Everfrost from Silas, and we've got Aatrox to threaten over the top, something to keep people in place. Hold on, we'll watch this fight. Deus using his Hex Drinker to get out of this situation. Owner's super tanky. He's going to be able to take this for a long time. He's got his Aftershock. Teleports are coming in. Perfectly timed Everfrost here. He's got the Maokai ultimate. I don't know that he wants to use it yet. He might look for it if he lands that E. All right. He's gonna wish he didn't cast that. It's a big chunk of damage though. Let's not get it wrong. That's a big chunk. It will allow people to reposition, but hold on, Carrier actually finds Scout. Scout could have gone in for a little bit more, perhaps was a little bit afraid of the re-engage from Owner and from Varys. He steps back. LNG is going to feel pretty bad about giving this one away. They're, based on the advantage that they had in the beginning. Like we said earlier, though, these two people trying to outscale, and you're basically playing a strong Jace to say, all right, our middle of the map is set. We have a really strong mid-jungle duo. And that means that we're going to be able to withstand a lot of pressure. We're going to buy a lot of time for these guys to scale. That said, you do need to get that chunk in. You need to get this Maokai ultimate into a QE from Jace into a big accelerated shock blast. Deal that damage. Hold on. He actually walked into that. Feeling the difference right there. What was it? Like 2 years ago that they changed it from a 5 to a 4-second stun when you go cross map? I believe that was there. I don't know that they walked that back. I don't want to be quoted on that, but it's worth checking out. All right, T1 works their way in. They're positioning for the Baron. They want to create this spike with this team as early as possible. They want to get vision to defend against this Jace. They want to make sure that the Maokai angles are all accounted for. So look at this. 4 lines, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have a ward saying we can claim 60% of the map by holding this one. And then behind it, you've got the control ward, another control ward put into pockets to say, no, we are really going to hold on to all this vision. That's actually what the spectators are highlighting right now. This extra line that they've got and the control wards here, they are making certain that with their team, the advantage of the Ashe Varys having a huge advantage in push against Aphelios and threat level for all in means that they can permanently play for this. Also, they have a turret here, whereas there's none left in the mid lane here. So T1's going to use permanent mid lane prio. They're going to keep people close to the Baron. They're going to try to take as many resources and control as much of this pocket as possible. All right, starting with their shallow beach wards, they're going to move the line deeper as they get opportunities to do it, and then they will siege in that vicinity to try to get their all-ins. Rel has Radiant Virtue. She's going to be very happy to tank up the Baron. Aatrox will be looking to take some sort of formation around the outside. We do have 3 dragons, including Cloud Dragon, to help Aatrox get those good positions, good ultimates. He may try to jump over this wall or this one at some point to slam the door shut. So you want to know where the approach is coming from. Is it coming from one of these 3? You're eliminating one of them by pushing. Now, the 2 other options are the ones that you ward. Aatrox is going to try to see where they're coming from, and then he himself is going to take a different position, right? So if you're coming this way, then he will come this way, and he will try to get in behind you, and then he'll slam the door shut, force you to make a maneuver into his team or into him, and have to deal with the big choke points here. The big choke points right here for Rel. These 2 avenues are the big places. She might also try to get one here or here. But all of these spots, these are big pockets where Rel can have a lot of advantage. And any fight that starts by trying to go through one of these 2 gateways means that you are giving yourself up to this Rel engage. And you're going to have to deal with all of that AoE damage coming out. You're talking about this hitting multiple targets. This will even damage multiple people. Everfrost for a lot of hold up plus his Q going to be a big AoE. We've got Rel that's going to vacuum people into the big area, and then that whole time we're going to have Sweet Spot, Slam, and then Q3 plus Dash. So the object of this game, pretty easy to execute for T1. Ease of execution tends to be a factor. When team comps are fairly equal or you like both drafts, ease of execution tends to be very good. Maokai Jace are going to have a completely different plan. They're going to say long range poke, use long range poke to get in further than we ought to, and it allows us to get more vision control than we otherwise might. And then with that vision control and the fact that we can scare you out of those bushes, we might be able to claim that territory. Rel's going to be absolutely risking it. You know, she's going to risk it 100%. Won't matter if her health is low. In fact, she's going to give up 50% of her health if she needs to be able to lead that fight off and get that big engage. Go for that like 3-man W flash into R. and into her Q if she can get those all off. There's just so much AoE knock up, AoE hold. All of it's going to be very, very difficult for LNG to deal with. Now, one of the other things that they could do, so these 4 are designed to withstand the siege while this one goes and pushes. Gwen is much less of a flanking threat than Aatrox is. She is an all-in threat against the Aatrox. They absolutely might be looking for that sort of avenue. Good little defense by T1. Keep their turret at full health. Hold on. Faker found an avenue. Good dodge by Hong. Here we go. We're going to have a big Q damage, but it's not going to have the first strike. Now, they've worked their way in. Now, this is a Drake. This team is planning to win in the next 8 minutes, so they might be willing to take this 23-minute dragon. Again, like we talked about last game, historically, T1 has been the type of team to say, give you this, go get Baron. Or, I shouldn't draw it under LNG, but I'm going to give you this while I go get Baron instead, and then use broken inhibitors as a way to go get it, and then we'll be that much stronger when it's time for the Elder. As it stands, it looks like we're actually playing for this all-in. LNG does not want this. They should be doing the opposite side of that equation. They do have green-white guns on Gala here, which is perfect. He uses his flash to get out of the Rel engage. Giga tries to dive into the backline, so there's actually a lot of dyssynergy right there, but they do kill the Rel, basically losing nobody, but Faker finds an avenue to go in forward. What ultimate do we have? Do we have quickness? We don't. All right, so Rakan and Gwen both bite the dust. They end up spending Zika's life, and really Rakan skipping ahead. The engage came towards his team. He skipped ahead, went to the backline. Gwen did as well, but you never want to lose your top laner in that equation. So big win for T1 means that they get to escape out of this unscathed. 23-minute soul. We're looking at a 29-20 Elder Dragon. They're going to go shop their money. They're going to use their soul advantage to get back out onto the map. Cloud Soul is one of those souls that allows you to play for big engages here. All right, big engage from Owner. Rakan, all right, so he did have the Rakan ultimate, and he used it right there to counter the counter engage and say, no, you can't actually counter engage on us. You're just going to actually all get charmed up. Allow for my whole team to rip into you. We'll trade 1 for 2. Rel dies, we get 2. Good trade. A lot of these pro teams will think of every iteration or every fight or every wave as a turn. Do you do better on your turn than the other person? And in this case, if you give 1 but take 2, that's a good turn, generally. Especially when it's a supportive engage, gets outscaled jungler, absolutely, 100%. Trading Rel for Gwen would have been fine. The fact that they got it for Gwen and Rakan is amazing. Now, coming out of that fight, big purchase for Rakan. He was so far behind in this game that he didn't even have his Radiant Virtue. Now he does, so he's going to have a little bit easier time in this fight. Well, I should say a much easier time. That should have been a big factor for LNG to not take that fight. They should have been willing to give this, push mid, and hold for Baron instead. But now they have to deal with Soul, plus a team that is spiked, that is much stronger than them. 2k gold lead, they've got Soul, they're going to move faster, they're going to use those rotations to threaten multiple waves and then get that line of vision. I wonder how much Alpha Zero has to do with what teams are doing now. Being patient, saying, hey, we can create threat on one side, and while you're forced to defend that side, we can just swing our threat back to the other side. You spent all of your defenses here later than us, so we get to be proactive on the rotation, and it means that we get to make plays. This is something that has come from the chess engines that are starting to approach 4,000 rating right now, and humans can't compete with it. And so if you were going to give a bot the opportunity to play League of Legends, what would it do? It's kind of an interesting thought exercise. Would it do this bait and switch? Would it play smoke and mirrors? Or would it just go and say, hey, we're stronger, let's just mechanically outplay you? Interesting little thought exercise. All right, Aatrox gets the bot lane to himself. He's only bot lane right now as long as he has teleport. Obviously, if he has to expend this, he will have to be closer to the team. But because he has it, and because T1 is so good in these pockets, you see that LNG is really just trying to hover with Rakan, cast saplings with Maokai, and cast QE with Jace. But Jace is the only person who can do that at any reasonable clip. Maokai went Bomby Cinder, so he's not even close to Liandry's to have valuable poke. And the question will be what he decides to go next. Is he going to go Abyssal Mask to try and heighten some of his own damage, get extra tankiness, basically trying to soak up these two guys. Is he going to go for Anathema's Chains? Is he going to build Randuin's Omen? Probably not Randuin's this game, but like, we see going into pieces like this tends to happen when you feel like you're behind and you just need to buy the single best item that'll get you back in any way, shape, or form into the game. This Kindle Gem is allowing Maokai to get an extra sapling out every 10 seconds. That's it. That's all it's accomplishing. So will T1 actually press for it right now, or will they wait for Rabadon's spike, right? They're very close to third item spikes here. They may decide that it's actually worth waiting and holding on to this Baron, and they may say, hey, we're actually going to fork you Baron and Elder, not even go for a Soul and Baron fork. It's a little bit more rare of a play, but with Elder spawning in 2 minutes, it's a very realistic choice, right? They could be within 2 minutes here. They have the Knight's Vow. They have third item here done. This is actually probably their window. Mod being completed, the fact that they have 2 items here, they don't quite have the Rabadons, but that's enough. Like, everyone having purchased means that they're going to try to find their fights here. Maokai Ultimate being used after Astra Ultimate, a little bit different than what you would normally want. Owner shorting his Q means Maokai's feeling good about an engage. Actually uses his flash. We're going to see whether or not he bites the dust for that. Aftershock is procced. Uma's just going to outrun the Tendrils of Corruption. They're going to move back into position. Good job by Zeus, realizing that nothing really threatening here. I can stay. I don't need to go for my teleport. But now he rotates over. These are parity. This is even. So you've got at least as long as Gwen shows to continue to make threat. He's been in fog, right? They don't know that he's coming over here, so they might try for the siege and actually get backdoored by Aatrox, where Aatrox just goes and pushes them forward into the buzzsaw. All right, no, they're calling it off. They've got a vision advantage. They've got the wave push in mid. Silas is picking up his last resources. The fact that he's on Krugs means he's basically almost definitely sitting on Rabadons. Maybe he's got one more camp he's trying to go for. I don't know. It's tough to say, right? You have to be willing to sell this for sure to get that Rabadon spike. They want to have this before the fight. Now, he's got the teleport. He also doesn't have 15. He doesn't have 16. So you really want Silas to get a few more resources available here. Okay, they end up stalling out until the Elder. This is very different from T1's script. I like that you have it, right? You talk about game theory optimal, where you have like 60% is your normal best play. This would be fork them for Soul and go get Baron. 30% can be your next best play, and 10% can be something that's good against those. That's with all things being equal. Of course, every game of League of Legends is very different by the time you hit the 22-minute mark and you have to make that decision. But it's good to see that they have other plays available. All right, very deep right here. Zika is super deep. Was looking for a flank angle. Will have to use the passive to get out, and they're going to reposition around Scout. The fact that they have to retreat here means that T1 gets to move in. They're going to draw a new line of scrimmage for themselves. Look at this pocket. You've got ward, control ward, control ward, control ward. They are absolutely controlling the entry points of the flankers here from Rakan and Gwen. Gwen's going to take a moment of this respite to go ahead and push in the bot lane. That'll hold Aatrox for a little bit longer. Rakan has got a nice spot for themselves. You see that they got a controller. This is fascinating to see this be the arc that they're fighting over. T1 says, no, that's enough. We're not going to let you stay this deep in our territory. But LNG putting up a valiant effort, coming up with a unique way to defend, all coming from the fact that Gwen is stronger than Aatrox in the 1v1, right? This is not possible unless you have Gwen. But that said, Aatrox is a much bigger threat in this fight than Gwen is. All right, interesting. They're going for an engage onto Aatrox. This is a very deep engage, and you're going past your team's vision. Means that you don't actually get it, and Jace dies, and that means Rel's going to get it. T1, playing so ever patiently, is able to close this door on them. Beautiful job by Aatrox to slam that shot. The fact that they got Jace that quickly was a testament to their preparation and knowing what the game plan is. You see 3 people trying to finish the fight, 1 person going for the end. Silas says, we've got enough tools to go for it. All we need to do is stop Tarzan's back. This is immaculate macro. You've got more than enough time with people dead. 22 seconds is enough to get it in from this stage. easily. So they're going to be killing the Nexus as Jace is respawning with these people coming in. You also see Keria coming on over. So they're going to have just enough time to kill everything as Jace is respawning. He will be the only defender. Now you see Varus and Rel coming over. Notice that they did not go for Elder, guys. This is macro is a matter of seconds, and the difference between killing the Nexus with Jace respawning versus not, look at this, perfectly timed, everything's killed, and right as the enemy is respawning to see it happen.